Hello and welcome everyone, my name is Captain Frost and today I want to talk to you about why all the recent leagues in Path of Exile was kinda underwhelming, maybe for exception when it comes to Sanctum, because Sanctum was a massive league that had this whole new gameplay mechanic to it. But why all the other ones like Lake of Kalandra, Crucible, and some of the leagues that were before that, why they felt kinda meh, kinda nothing? Yeah, let's talk about it. So obvious competitor for any Path of Exile 1 leagues is Path of Exile 2. The development comes to that, and definitely developers don't really put so much effort, put so much time in developing leagues, in developing balance changes, in changing everything in Path of Exile 1. And especially I want to touch balance here because it is way more essential than the gameplay. Gameplay and new mechanics, new league systems, it's quite obvious. You have your designers, you have your 3D modelers, you have your regular programmers and your staff that work on Path of Exile 2. They're creating new acts for campaign, they're creating probably some changes to end game. They are busy with that stuff. But why was there so almost an absence of balancing of the game for last year and a half, or yeah, something closer to that? And in some leagues, like when Lost Ark released, Chris from GGG even told us that, well, not many people checked our balance changes in the league when Lost Ark hit, and which means that we will not change almost anything for the next one. And this was one of the moments where community didn't really understood why. There was never the case like that. There was never a situation where GGG wouldn't balance, wouldn't switch the meta and make some type of skills better. It was, yeah, it felt like, why wouldn't you do just some stuff, maybe nerf the hell out of this type of skills, and then just bring some plus 100 plus 200 damage for other kind of skills. It's not hard. Why wouldn't you do that? And for this particular question, I have an answer. They were busy again balancing Path of Exile 2. But you would think that if Path of Exile 2 is a continuation of Path of Exile 1, why would they even spend so much time for that? And that's because of Path of Exile 2 is not a continuation, it's a revamp and it's a complete overhaul of the game. And as we saw with our last two trailers, about Path of Exile 2, they've shown us couple of trailers when it was ExileCon 2. Then after a year as well, there was an update with some act footage, with some spear footage and stuff like that. And then they went silent. And now we see that it's a completely other game. When it comes to ExileCon 1, we saw a version of Path of Exile 2 that was really a successor, and like it's not even it wasn't even only a successor, it was a complete continuation. There was no changes in terms of how the gameplay felt. Fireball was just like Fireball, movement was the same, there was no roll button, there was nothing like that. The fluidity of combat was the same, there wasn't really too many new skills or anything like that. Streamers played it, it was just other bosses, other locations, and everyone was like, okay, PoE 2 is just gonna be PoE 1, but with new graphics and with new campaign. And it's just gonna be like PoE 1.5, but it probably wouldn't. And new trailers showed us that it probably will be a complete overhaul. Your all skills will be just everything that you know about the game and how the game plays will be changed. And to balance all that, I guess this is the real reason why we didn't have any balance changes, or we've had so little of them, why the game felt a bit stagnant in that vector, I guess, is because they were rebalancing hard in Path of Exile 2. They were busy with that, and there is just so much work for you to have all the enemies reworked, all the skills reworked, all the items reworked. In terms of all those plus 10 to damage, plus 50 to damage, where should be which coefficient, and do we need to have this multiplier on this thing? And imagine reworking all items in the game, reworking all skills, all ascendancies, all talents, and all bosses and all enemies. Imagine just rebalancing your whole game foundation from the get-go to complete combat overhaul, and still maintaining all those items and all those mechanics in the game, as you've promised to players that the Path of Exile 2 will be a continuation. It will have only more content. We're not deleting three-fourths of uniques from the game. We're not deleting corruption mechanic. We're not deleting synthesized mechanic. We're making it all go there, and we're reworking combat completely. And that's where your balancing work went. I'm 100% sure of it. And I don't even know if 2 years is enough time for them to completely rework everything. And the second thought that at least I have when it comes to that is they didn't really present any major overhauls for skills or for gameplay styles, like it was for summoners before, like it was for mines before. They didn't do anything major like that in quite some time. And second reason why is because whenever you want to completely rework the whole system, why would you put a just big amount of time into sub-reworking something that will be reworked on current terms of how the game is played, whenever in a year you will need to completely throw that in the garbage and present completely another way for people of how to play this archetype or this class or this skill. And this is just logical, especially with how they could have done more cosmetic changes with the skills. That there are skills in the game that are just pure dog shit. They are not on par with many other skills in terms of power. They could have just ramped their numbers even more, and people would have fun with new skills, and there wouldn't be such a drought in terms of balance changes. And still, you are not getting too much power creep in the game, because if one of your skill is already on this level of power creep and the second one is here, if you were to bring it just a little bit higher than your previous one highest power creep skill, then you're not really raising the bar. You're just shifting your players' attention to something else, and they don't really think that there is nothing happening in the game. They could have done it, but probably time is a constraint, I guess, in this situation. And what we really have is no major overhauls of our class, of our ascendancies, of systems, of types of gameplay that are present in the game. For almost a year or a year and a half, and all this goes into PoE2. Because if you were to, for example, rework how strike skills work, and then you're like, so now with strike skills baseline, they have ancestral call type of a passive to them, for them to not be crippled with having only 5 links instead of 6 links. By the way, this system is in the game. You don't really need ancestral call. Now you have your talents, you have your influences for that. But just imagine if that wasn't the case, and they're like, we're doing this, and then melee splash is gonna be present on all your skills, strike skills. And then something else, and now all the strike skills have different modifiers for them to calculate on how close you're to the enemy, so that for single target you will have bigger damage, but you need to be close to the enemy, rather than how it works with AoE skills or with range skills, or we're reworking the melee completely to be like that. And if you're making something like this that needs so much effort from you to redesign all the uniques around it, rebalance all the support skills, all the ascendancies around it and stuff like that, and then in half a year to year you're saying there is no strike skills. There is no auto target or ancestral call mechanic in the game anymore. There is only you, and you can strike to nearest target, but then you can somehow amplify your AoE so that you will now strike not with your sword but with a giant sword that is 20 meters long, and that's how your AoE AoEing down everything. I'm over exaggerating, of course, but yeah, so something like that. And it's just not really wise way for you to use your time and for you to spend your development. Development is not really going to be progressing fast enough if you're reworking two same things in completely different directions. One for your present player base to enjoy, and second for your player base to enjoy in half a year. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you're having a good time, and yeah, goodbye.